Okay, members, we're just going back to our basics with a few videos this week, and I've done some seed raising, potting on some seedlings, and I've shown some different mixes. And now what we're going to do is just really briefly go into how to remove some pups from our different types of Bill Burgers and at what size, as well as some other different varieties. This one here is an Eekmere. This is Burning Bush, and it's the striated form, so that's the lovely lines that you can see with this particular one. Now I've let this one go a little bit long, and so my pup, who's now well and truly almost the size of the mum. Now the mum will still give me another pup, but I need to take this one off. Now you can do it a couple of ways. You can use secateurs, you can use a saw, you can do lots of different things. You can snap it if you've got the strength, which I don't have anymore. But what I do have is my favourite thing, which is just good old-fashioned steak knife. So into the pot, into the centre here, clear division between what the mum is and what our pup is on the other side, and I'm going to just do a really quick cut straight down. Now I'm going to cut all the way through, straight down the centre, and also towards the edge of the pot. I want to get some roots as well. Now this pot's going to be divided into two. Mum's going to be repotted with some extra mix, a little bit of fertiliser to get her to give me another pup, and the pup's going to be pulled out and we'll pop it into its own pot as well. Okay, so those have been separated. This is what I've ended up with, beautiful big root ball on my one big fat pup. So it's now going to get replanted, and Mum has been topped up with some fresh fertiliser in her pot as well, and I'll just add tag back to this one and top this one up, and then we'll move on to Bromeliads. Okay, so all potted up, back to the same height. A really good pop, this one. So it's now on a 180, and I'm going to pop this pup in a cool position just because it's been under the shade cloth and it's starting to really heat up at this time of year. So what I'll do is I might move it into the seedling house just so that it can establish for a couple of days. Once it's established, then it can go back out to the main garden. I might actually put it up in here. Now, in the seedling house, we've had some nibbles of local rats. So on a high shelf in the greenhouse, I've got a tray of these pellets. These pellets contain a rat bait, and before everybody goes getting all upset with me for doing that, I live on a property with lots of wildlife, lots of natives. I have owls, I have snakes, lots of reptiles, also have dogs and cats, and I don't like to bait, so I've actually started using the Ratsat Naturals rodent bait, and so it's safe to be used around dogs and cats. There's no secondary poisoning with birds, so my owls are safe, and more importantly it's up high, so it's away from blue tongues or any of my lizards, and that door's closed in the evening. It's only the seedling house that's been baited. Mum from that Eekmere that we've just taken a baby of can go down here on the floor, and we'll wait and get another one from that one. All right, back to the topic at hand. Now, Bromeliads, rule of thumb is you don't take the pups off until they're a third of the size of the mum. Okay, so, or in my case, I take them off a little bit younger, and I take them off when I've got an open vase. So this is Bromeliad Eva. Mum is finishing, and that is one pup on it only. Now, if I leave that pup, I won't get any more, or I might only get one more, and I want a few of these. So once again, with my knife, this time there's not going to be any roots attached to this pup because it's much younger. So right up close to the Mary stem, which is the white growing part of your plant, so right at the base where it joins, there's a little bit of what's called a heel. Okay, now I personally don't like snapping them. I've broken them too short too often, so near Bromeliads I like to use the knife. So the stem has been, or this heel that you can see here, has been in contact with the potting mix, so hopefully there will be some roots, but as close to mum as I can possibly go, and it's just going to be a deep cut. Now I've cut through a couple of times. There we are, the plants come off. Now, most importantly, it has a heel. Okay, nice firm area of the plant. The actual cut area is actually quite dry, which is good. And more importantly, when I open it, stand it upright and bring out its leaves, it'll be open and it will be able to retain some water. So it's got a good size vase, that one. Now Mum will produce more, so it's going off because I also want the seeds out of it that I've been tickling. All right, so I'm just going to quickly top this one up with some fertiliser just to make it feed and to put some more energy into producing some more pups. And this one here, of course, will be potted up as well. Okay, so Mum's been topped up with bark mix. She's also got a teaspoon of feed. Pup, as I said, nice and open form now that it's been potted up. It's a nice pup. Tagged. Pup number 1, really important because you always keep your best pup or your first pup, and the date, which in this case is February 22. Now we're going to move on to the big Alcantaraya over here and get that up on the table, and we'll make a start on it next. Okay, so I've split the leaves and I'm just going to remove all of the leaves leading up to each of my pups, which are formed in the leaf axils of an alcan. If you try to take a whole leaf, you can break off or damage smaller ones. See, now I put gloves on and I need my so I'm just going to break the leaf. Very messy job, isn't it? It's quite cathartic. Rightio. Once all that's done, and we've cleaned off all of the leaf litter around the base, leading up to this first pup, once the first one comes off, they all come off pretty quickly and easily. This is a Vinicolor hybrid that was used to hybridize. Okay, so all the leaf litter's been cleaned away, and it's literally a matter of just popping your hand in between it and Mum, taking a really good hold, and then slowly prying it down. Now, if there's any resistance, then there's too much leaf litter still around the bottom. So let's go and deal with that again. Okay, so I've de-leafed even further around the skirt, around the base here, and we'll give them a go again. So once again, this is the first outer pup, and so just I want it to crack, just like it's done, and I want to be able just to twist. And pull it off with a heel attached to the base of this one again. So that's pup number 1, which is quite a narrow pup in comparison to these next 2. So there's 2 more to come off again, just levering. Clearly heard the crack of that one, and just simply removing this one. We have pup number 2. And then the biggest one, again, good crack. And it's pup number 3. Now, there's still another pup up higher. In fact, there's 2 more. So, again, removing the leaf to get to it, and it's a matter of levering and then just simply popping it down. It's as simple as that. If you're doing more than that, then either they're too small to come off, or you're doing something wrong and you need to clear away some more of your leaf to get to it. So once again, a leaf is in the way. We need to get to this big, flat, clear heel, and we want to bend it gently down. You'll hear the snap. That's it there. And the pup's removed. Another lovely one. Nice heel. So we want this very firm base. So that's 5 pups from that mum, which will now just get a tidy up. She's nowhere near finished. She'll produce at least another 4 or 5. So I won't remove any more of her leaves. I'll feed her and pop her into the mother garden as well. Now, one final tip is bilbergias. Now, bilbergias produce pups very close to mum, and usually you need to take mum out of a pot, cut the pup away, and then repop pup and baby again. Otherwise, you'll only end up getting 1 or 2 pups from your bilbergias. Now, a way to increase the number of pups that you get from your bilbergias is to cut without removing. It's just the same process, but we're not going to displace this pup. What we're going to do is, so that's the lower leaf off the mum, and this is a pup growing here at the side. Now wait for them to get to 1/3 of the size of mum, which this one is, about 1/3 of the size. This is a really special variety, so I wouldn't be doing this earlier. Now, all it is simply a cut again, nice and close to the mum, and we cut all the way through, and we cut all the way through to the edge of the pot. Okay, now that pup will have a root system on it, but we've now separated it from the mum, so the mum won't now put any more energy into growing this pup. It'll now grow by itself, but mum will now produce another pup in a different area. And so by the time the next pup comes along, this pup will be well and truly large enough to be taken out and potted on, or I can leave them to clump up and pop them into a different pot. Now, the next plants to divide, well, they're pretty simple, and that's Varesia. Now, Varesia are treated the same way as the elcant, removing all the leaves until you get to the leaf axil. Once you get to the leaf axil where your pup is, this is an old mum, and these are 2 smaller pups. I've already taken off about 5 nice pups. So this pup here is now big enough to come off mum, and so once again, same as before with the elcant, we are going to simply push it away, remove it, making sure that we've got a nice firm heel. So it's a nice flat heel where it's been growing up against the mum. And then that one's ready to pot straight on into potting mix. And it could get added to its siblings, which are here actually. A whole bucket full of them I did a few weeks ago. So these are some younger ones that I took off. And they've been sitting in a bucket for, surgery was 4 weeks ago. So we'll say about 6 weeks ago. So let's have a look at the root system that's developed with them just sitting in a bucket, no potting mix. So these pups were just put in empty pot. It's been raining. Other than that, they've been completely neglected, and they've formed a lovely root system. In fact, they're joined together. So we'll separate them all because there's 5 here. So they've developed a nice little root system, each of them, all now ready to be potted up into their own pots instead of left in a pot. It just shows you that they can survive in a pot without any potting mix in an upright position for several weeks quite happily, and then you just got to untangle them all. All right, very quick and simple how to pot up a couple of different varieties. The only ones that I didn't mention were the mini and the stoloniferous. So these are your stoloniferous forms, the ones that grow out on these stolons. Really simple. There's 2 ways you can treat them: as an epiphyte, where they don't need to go into potting mix, or each of these can be cut off at the base. They will develop roots from here once this reaches either a tree or potting mix. That's where the roots will come from, so you don't need the stem. You can cut it right back nice and short and you can plant them, or keep the long stem, break them off, cut them off, and you can attach them to trees and grow them that way. Like this whole pot, none of it is growing within the pot, it's all on the outside of the pot itself. Okay, fellas and ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our quick howdy doody, how do we do some potting up and separating of pups video for the day. Bye now.